You are listening to Hit Play, Not Pause, a feisty menopause podcast for active, performance-minded women. I am your host, Selene Chaker. Each week, I bring you advice from athletes, scientists, researchers, and other experts to help you feel and perform your best, no matter what your hormones are doing. This show is a production of Live Feisty Media. Hello, strong, feisty women. I hope you all are well. So, for many of us, the sports we loved growing up can ultimately end up breaking our hearts and sometimes even our spirits when we get the message that our bodies are not quite good enough, i.e., thin enough, the way they are. And we can internalize those messages in really insidious ways that, let's face it, we can carry around sometimes for the rest of our lives. And, well, this week's guest, Anne-Marie Chaker, was definitely on one of those paths. But thankfully that all changed when she picked up some weights in a hotel gym and got on another path, away from self-medicating she was doing at the time with quite a bit of alcohol to self-empowering with resistance training, and eventually became competitive in bodybuilding, which is also complicated because that is a sport that definitely celebrates but also can complicate women's bodies. And along the way, Anne-Marie has learned a ton, like how eating more can transform health and performance, what it really takes to step on a stage in those sparkly bikinis and high heel shoes, how perimenopause shows up with rage and panic and fatigue, and why muscle is truly, no matter if you step on a stage or not, the metabolic 401k every woman needs. In the end, this is a conversation that is all about what I love, rewriting the script and replacing small and skinny with strong and powerful, and embracing the bodies that we as women were really meant to have. As a longtime journalist, Anne-Marie documented this journey in a couple of editorials. One was in the Wall Street Journal, another in the Daily Beast. I'll put links to those in the show notes. And she also put it all down, along with plenty of prescriptive advice, in her new book, Lift: How Women Can Reclaim Their Physical Power and Transform Their Lives. I will put a link to that in the show notes as well, along with her Substack. And I just learned that she also recorded her own audiobook. So if you want, you can go and check out that too. I know podcast listeners often like to listen to audiobooks like they listen to podcasts. Anyway, great conversation, and I hope you enjoy this one as much as I did. Oh, and I will note that Anne-Marie was in the midst of a cut where bodybuilders manipulate their diet and their training and try to get to a body composition where their muscles show most, which, as she says, is pretty hard and definitely unsustainable. When we recorded this at the end of May, because she was preparing for a competition in June, but then I looked to see how she did, and I contacted her, and she said that was not going to happen. She said it was pretty untenable to try to do that cut, do that competition, and get ready for the launch of her book. So she has shifted the competition season to this fall. She'll be competing from October to January. If you want to go, check her out on Instagram and follow along. Anyway, as always, give us a follow at Feisty Menopause on Instagram and Facebook. Head into those show notes and sign up for my free weekly Feisty 40 Plus newsletter with all the training and nutrition news you can use. Thank you, as always, for the continued 5-star ratings and very nice reviews. They really do help continue growing our show. And speaking of growing our show, if you like the show, please share it with a friend, share it with someone. Believe it or not, that is still the #1 way shows like this flourish. Before we get to it, quick thanks to NutriSense for coming back on as a sponsor. They can help you dial in your nutrition in a way that works for you during this time of life, so I'm super happy to have them back on board. Thank you, NutriSense, for your support. All right, enough of me. Let's have a few words about our awesome sponsors and get on with the show. All right, Anne-Marie, welcome to Hit Play Not Pause. I'm so psyched for this conversation.
Oh my God, it's such a pleasure to be with you here and on my new Shure microphone. This is so exciting. I feel like a real podcaster.
Microphones are great. Microphones make everything better in the podcast world. So you have a new book out. I'm very excited about that too because I'm all about women lifting and getting strong and how it bleeds into all aspects of our
Mm.
lives. But I want to take people on a little journey with you and go
Mhm.
back to the start and talk about because when I read about it, I really resonated with it, and I know a lot of people in our audience will too. Your history with your body and sport, which it sounds great on paper, like, oh, it'll make you feel good about your body to play sports. We hear that all the time, but that's
Right.
actually not what happened to a lot of us. So, can you just give us a little bit of your history with how you got into sport and how that impacted your perception of self?
Yeah. So, let's see. I guess we'll take it way back. I would say I grew up loving sport, like certain sports. I was a figure skater when I was growing up. I was a competitive figure skater and loved the ice. Oh my God. I used to get up before school and skate after school. It was like this, the rink was this special little community and I loved it. And there were coaches and other kids that skated. Um, I remember, my body was never quite right for that sport, right? I was never like petite and super thin. Had boobs, I was in puberty and like all the things. So I remember when I was in high school, I think it was like freshman year in high school, maybe it was eighth grade. I got really sick with mono, and so I was off the ice for like 3 or 4 weeks. And when I came back, one of the coaches at the rink said to me, "Wow, you look like you've lost weight." And I said, "Yeah, I have. I've been sick with mono." And she said, "Looks good." I
Oh
remember
my God.
I remember thinking like it was such a salient moment in my life that it was just like, it's worth being sick to look the part. And this, like, I love as much as this, as much as I loved sports, this continued into like different sports that I fell in love with, right? So, in college, I rode crew,
Mm.
um, and
Were you
I
not big enough for crew then?
I was not big enough for. Well, I was buff, right? And I've always put on muscle really easily. Um, my brothers and I
Me
all
too.
have this like mesomorphic body type, so I can blink and put on muscle. And it was really kind of the first time I was introduced to weightlifting in a serious way, and I loved it. And I love people used to comment on my arms, but I was short. I was 5'4", and rowing favored really long limbs and tall girls. So I remember my freshman year taking at the end of the year taking a 2,000-meter test, and um, I broke, I think it was 8 minutes, which was considered good, and I was the only one on my team who broke 8 minutes, and it was a big deal, and we cheered, um, and I was demoted to the back of the boat, and it was pretty clear to me it was because like my I wasn't tall enough that it looked like the boat moved and looked better if, a taller girl was in that front of the boat seat. So it was always like I always kind of like had this feeling like my body was just never enough. And it was just something that like in college I went to an all women's school, which was wonderful, but like our dorms were always this hot pot of obsession about, what you were wearing, whether it looked good on you, always meant thin. And people in my dorm were always obsessed with like reading the back of labels for fat grams and what was in it. And it was just this constant in my life. And even, even like when I started dressing to go to work, I would hear from, you wear whatever to go to work and tailor pants or whatever. Like, oh, they look good on you. But you always knew it was code for they look thin on you. So this is my whole
Yeah.
life. I felt like thin was this thing that I was always reaching for, but never could really meet.
And then what happens when you reach adulthood? It sounds like many of us, you sort of go into the quote unquote real world and leave behind the sports for job, marriage, kids, maybe end of a job or end of kids or not end of kids, but end of the marriage.
Right.
Um, so
Keep the kids.
yeah, keep the kids, keep the kids. Um, and the struggle is another way with that very real reality. So can you talk a little bit about how you navigated, because we're going to get to you find weights at some point, but how do you get there?
Yeah. So, when I became an adult, so this would have been like, my 20s when I started the work world. Um, there was really nothing else to do. Like when you've been an athlete in school and college and sports, like it's all your options become like, well, I'm gonna go, to an exercise class and do
Yeah.
Pilates or like yoga
Or go
never
run.
really like did it for, and I didn't enjoy running just for the purpose of like it just seemed like the point of that was to like burn calories and so nothing really ever jived with me. I'm not like a let's relax person. So like yoga and stretching, like I always didn't really like. So there just seemed like nothing to do. And I just didn't have like a physical outlet, which was weird. Somebody who had like loved certain sports. I just didn't gel with anything that was available to me at that phase of my life. So anyway, I, get married and have children. I had a baby, had a second baby. And like with both my babies, I really struggled with postpartum depression. Um, and just, it's something that is very normal and happens to a lot of people. And I, with my second baby, it, uh, I was struggling with this when one day a neighbor came to my door and said that my dad had a heart attack. Walking the dog. Dad lived a couple doors down, so I ran out, and it was just kind of like this nightmare. So there was a really hard time in my life, right? So I'm struggling having the second baby. My dad died suddenly, and then like shortly after that, my marriage kind of ended. My husband left. Um, so it was just in the span of like a few months that all of these truths in my life had been upended. And I had never been much of a drinker at all. Like I just never really, it was fine, like socially, but I never really cared for like I wouldn't drink alone. But
Yeah.
I think at that point I counted like 11 days where I hadn't slept, which sounds insane, right? But I literally could not sleep. And a neighbor came over one night and was just like, look, why don't you just have like a glass of wine, half a glass of wine to help take the edge off and help you go to sleep. And that's what started it. I would soon that glass of wine became more and more and more, and I was just all the time drinking, and I couldn't stop. Um, it was literally like self-medication, right?
Yeah.
And all this came to a head when I was taking my kids to a hockey tournament and we were driving to Ocean City. I packed my mom, packed the kids, packed the hockey bags in the car. And it was, I don't know, this 3 hour drive. And I could not wait to get there because I needed a drink. And it was like this twitchy feeling in the car where I'm like, I needed a drink. Um, and it was like in that car ride that I knew, like, oh my God, I have a problem and I need to get help for this. This is not good. Um, we get to this dinky hotel where we were staying, and there was a fitness room in there. And that's when I saw this woman, this hockey mom, who was alone in this like fitness room. And she was buff and crushing a workout and doing things that I hadn't seen in a really long time, like lifting dumbbells. And she had a watch and she was sweating and she knew what she was doing. And there was obviously like a plan she was following. And it was like the combination of her being totally committed to this workout and the way she looked, which was not thin, but it was like a powerhouse
Yeah.
that I was totally inspired to change my ways. So that's where it started.
And what did you do?
So I went up to her, being a
Oh,
journalist. I was like, you look amazing. I look like shit. I think I have a drinking problem. What is your story? What do you do? CrossFit? And she said, no, I do bodybuilding, which sounded really weird to me because I mean I didn't know. No, actually, she said I do bikini competitions,
Oh,
which sounded completely insane to me, and I didn't even know what that was. I said, what is that? Like beauty pageants? And she said, no, 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 it's a sport called bodybuilding, and I have a coach. And she talked about tracking macros and how it was this whole like way of life that she then, which I said that sounds incredible. Give me the she said the coach will work with you, if you want me to connect you, you don't have to be a bodybuilder, but she'll work on you with nutrition and an exercise program, and it might be really helpful. So I said, yeah, yeah, yeah. So she's in Bowie, Maryland. Her name's Tina Paratino. I said, yeah, sure, I'll reach out. So when I got home from the hockey tournament, Tina's name was in my inbox, and I reached out and started working with her. And the first thing she actually had me do was to track what I was eating, like to track everything I was consuming on a day-to-day basis. And this is what blew my mind. It was that I wasn't eating nearly enough. And like we're conditioned as women, right, to be always like eat less and don't eat too much. But when we looked at what I was consuming, it was just like I was going from coffee in the morning to eating whatever scraps came off my kids' plates during the day, nuggets or whatever, and wine. And, and then every third or fourth day, I would do a big binge on all sorts of crap and then go back to barely eating anything else. And this coach was like, this is bullshit. Like, you're not eating enough. You need to weigh up the calories. So she started teaching me about macros and eating enough like good whole food and really eating a lot of protein. Um, and then so once we kind of had that going, she started getting me into a gym, but not to do cardio, but to really lift heavy weights, which I hadn't done since I was that rower in college. So like some 25 years or whatever. And what was amazing to me is that this reversal of what I'd always thought, which was to eat less and do less, was, this moreness blew my mind pretty soon. Like I started to feel completely different after like a couple weeks. I started to naturally wean off alcohol just because like I was eating really well and like I didn't really feel like I needed it. Um, and I started to sit up straighter. My voice on the phone changed when I was interviewing people. I started wearing lipstick again, pushing back, saying
did you
no.
sleep?
I slept like everything, right? But like everything was performing better. And it was crystal clear to me that this was the body that I was supposed to have. I was supposed to be an athlete, like that I was supposed to be like this buff badass. And like, why was I obsessed with like this thing that hadn't served me? When it was, and like I started wearing two-piece bathing suits for the first time, like which I'd never done before. So it was just like my body morphed with more food and lifting. And I just felt like I literally felt like a new person.
How old were you at this point?
Hang on. I was 40, probably 46, 47. Yeah.
So then, at what point do you go, I'm going to compete?
Yeah. So, I had like no interest in doing this, but my coach at some point, a couple years out down from doing this, was like, "You put on muscle really easily. You should consider the stage." And I was like, no, that's so dumb. Like the whole like the spray tans and
Hmm.
like like it just seemed like so like ugh, I don't want to do that. But it's also kind of flattering when someone thinks you could, right? And I
Hmm.
was like, maybe like I was like, I'll do it like on a lark and maybe I'll write about it for the journal and maybe it'll be kind of like, yeah, this thing, like the journalist who did a bodybuilding competition. Um, and I went and did the thing and won my pro card on this first go. Um, and wrote a piece for the journal about this journey. And the piece went bananas. Um,
I'll put it in the show notes. It's a good piece.
oh,
And you talk about it in
thanks.
your book too. Yeah.
Yeah. And it led to this book deal with Penguin Random House. And I really used the opportunity to tell the story of, what skinny was and why, how skinny came to be, and
Yeah.
and the power of muscle, and how the story of how women are inherently strong, buff, badass creatures, but how, uh, yeah, moments of history reshape that trajectory for us to make us want to be small and thin. And the book is an argument that no, 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 the this muscle is the thing that's going to save you. It's your legacy. It's what you were meant to be, and to go and embrace that. And here's why. So I hope to write something that was really easy to understand, that really kind of showed the line and incorporated my story as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and you did it beautifully. And it as I have read more books like yours and looked into a lot of it myself, I am fascinated by the turning points in which we became frail, fainting creatures waiting for knights in shining armors to take care of us. Because that's sort of the narrative that we were sold, which I think is finally changing. But when you look, it's
Yeah.
interesting to draw the parallel from your coach saying, "Oh, mono, you wear mono very well." When typhoid was also, I mean, women were wasting away, like literally wasting to death, and there was like this odd enamored quality that men had with it, and that was the standard of beauty at the time, just sort of being pale and wasting away. And then you think of the Kate Mosses and the heroin chic and all, like the people who have literally died to be as absolutely emaciated as possible. And it's just such an odd cultural
Yeah.
illness.
I mean, I think of myself as like the teenager, the kid, the 20 something year old. And it's just like when you really open your eyes to, like, writing this book has really like caused me to open my eyes and see the marketing with, like, with fresh eyeballs. And it is just stunning to me. It's like the color of paint on the wall, right? You see thin and skinny everywhere. It's when you go to a grocery store, everything is thins, right?
Yeah.
Crackers, wheat thins, everything is thins or skinny, skinny cow ice cream. It's like, skinny jeans. It's like the thing to covet. And we have been fed, like, no wonder we struggle, right? No wonder our daughters have eating disorders. And like, because it's the thing we've been jammed down our throats
Hmm.
since the dawn of time. So, yeah. Um, I don't know. I try to tell women, like, if you feel this way, or it's really not your fault. Um,
Yeah.
and to approach it from that point of view.
I'm curious how it was interesting passage when you sort of were doing that first bikini competition, talking about, you know, putting on these rhinestones and doing all the things and the heels and sort of the push pull with what we're talking about, where women are expected to be with the male gaze, and
Yeah.
but maybe it looks different when you have been lifting heavy shit and and have a barbell and then you have the bikini on. Like, how do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. So it is weird, right? Because it's this sport where you're judged on your body, um, which, especially when you hit a certain age, feels very strange. Um, I guess, like, I fell in love with it. And by the way, that initial experience was very positive for me. It was this kind of, I loved the community. I loved that it drew people from all corners of the universe who just kind of wanted to who embrace muscle for whatever reason. So, you know, you had like wealthy, you know, uh like desperate housewife type wanting their best divorce body, and like you had, you know, Trump stickers on trucks in the parking lot, and then, you know, Teslas, and like everything in between. And I kind of loved the carnival of characters and the spray tan, and it's and I fell in love with muscle. I mean, what I will say is like I fell in love with the sport because I fell in love deeply with muscle and the
Mm.
beauty of muscle on the body. Um, I had never, you know, when I started working with a coach and she asked me like, what is it you want to look like? I didn't have anything to go on except like skinny models, right? And when I discovered this world of like muscle on body, I just thought it was I just wanted it. Like I just fell in love with it. So um we in the sport, you know, dieting, cutting is a big part of
Hmm.
the weeks leading up to stage, and we do this to showcase the most muscle. You know, muscle is typically buried under a layer of fat, which is healthy.
Yeah.
And then we cut to lean out in order to see the muscle on the body in its most striated form. So you get ridiculously lean. And if you're working with a good coach, she'll tell you, or he'll tell you, that this is not the body that is meant to be lived in. This is a very temporal thing. And then when you're done with the competition, you build back. So to back to a healthy layer of fat, you know, on the body. So, but that can be hard. That can
I
be
was gonna
hard
say, what does
because
that do to your head?
well, exactly, because you know, you start to kind of miss the abs, and you know, there comes a point when people start to tell you look amazing when, you know, when you're, but like you don't look that amazing when, you know, you're off the stage. So it comes with a set of really complicated feelings, which I still struggle with. And it doesn't, what I will say is it may look a certain way on stage, but when you're off stage, it doesn't look good. So this like 9%, 10% body fat bikini body that's on stage, when it's off stage, looks really kind of sickly and not, you know, good. So I was like a week or two before competition, and I took my daughter to a pediatrician's office for a checkup or something, and the doctor, bless his heart, pulled me aside and he said, "Is everything okay?" And I said, "Yeah."
Oh,
And he's like, "You've lost a lot of weight." And I said, I compete in bodybuilding, and this is part of a cut, and I put it back on when the competition is over." And he was kind of like, "Huh, okay." But yeah, that's goes to show you that when it looks a certain way on a stage, right, against other bodies, but in real life, and it may even look kind of, this is what's interesting to me, if you do like a bikini photo shoot, it may look like, oh, she's got, there's something about the context, the photograph. I don't know if it's that we are so used to seeing like emaciated women models, but like in a photograph, it doesn't look that bad. I mean, it looks
yeah,
good, but in real life, it looks terrible.
totally.
So it's not a body I would want to live in. And it's also like not like I'm not a fun person to be around while I'm in these weeks. Like I can't like go to dinner, and I'm constantly like watching what I eat. So it's a lesson in like this quote unquote perfect bikini body is like it's a miserable one. Like you don't want to you don't want to live in like 9 to 10% body fat. And
Yeah.
I feel my best when in the off season when I'm not competing. Not to say I don't love the sport, because I do, but you see, it's this very complicated set of
Yeah.
feelings that I have that comes with it.
Yeah, no, I can completely understand that. So let's wade into the menopause transition because I think
Okay.
you have
Yeah.
waded into the menopause transition, right?
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
say in your book, in the last few years, even though my workouts haven't changed, I felt twinges and aches more acutely than before. My hair is
Yeah.
thinned. I've had nights of tossing and turning, and you
Yeah.
find yourself in the throes of perimenopause. Talk a bit about where you are in your journey there and how, if and how it has impacted your training, performance, and recovery.
Yeah. So I've just turned 50, and I would say I started feeling symptoms acutely um maybe like 9 months ago. Um and it's so funny because like I didn't think I was in menopause. Like you
I
never think you're
understand.
in like
I
I'm this.
understand that was hence this podcast. Anyway, go ahead.
um so I started having these like mini almost panic
Yep.
attacks.
Yep. My first sign too.
Yeah, oh, interesting. Because like nobody else I talked to says that they felt this way, but I was like I thought a hot flash would be like this, oh Lord, I'm hot, but it didn't matriculate that way for me. It was kind of like these prickly feelings on my
Mm,
arms, my face, and this intense feeling of like panic. And then it would pass. So it didn't, I thought I was having panic attacks.
mm-hmm.
Because I've always kind of struggled with anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm.
And then this thing happened. I call it my road rage incident, where I was, oh God, I can't believe I'm talking about this. But I was driving and my kid was in the back seat, and this dude in a Tesla, I must have like pissed him off. Maybe I cut him off without thinking. I must have done something to piss him off. This dude in the Tesla comes up next to me and gives me the finger and says, "Fuck you, bitch," with my kid in the back seat. And that set me off. I get out of the car, which I've never done before. I get out of the car and I kick his car.
Wow.
I'm thinking to myself like looking at this from above, thinking to myself, this is not normal. And this is why we call for gun control, by the way, because
Yeah.
if I had something like I don't know that I wouldn't have used. I thought this is not like me. So
Yeah.
when I went
I'm
home,
not really feeling like myself.
I went home and I Googled road rage and menopause, and like sure enough, like hot tempers and
Wow.
rage and menopause,
Oh yeah, rage is
so I was
definitely a
like,
thing.
yeah, so rage is definitely a thing. So that's when I called the doctor and said I thought so. She put me on a low dose birth control pill,
Uh-huh.
which sucked because I kept forgetting to take, like, birth control pills just suck. You forget to take them all the time. So then this is amazing. I had a friend of mine who's an OBGYN. I was visiting in San Francisco, and she was just like, try an IUD and an estrogen patch together. The
Yep.
IUD is the progesterone, and the
And the birth
estrogen you
control.
get the right, and you get the estrogen from the patch. So you only have to change the patch like a couple times a week. So that's worked great. So I went back and I saw the nurse practitioner, and she goes, "Oh, that's a really interesting combination. I wouldn't have thought of that. Nobody,
Yeah, it's pretty
nobody."
common in the menopause space, like for
But
menopause
do you
trained
see what I'm
practitioners.
saying? It's like there's just such a lack of, yeah. And like
Yes.
uh I was telling I was meeting with the CEO of MIDI Health a
Hmm.
few days ago, and
Yeah.
she was just
As one
like,
does.
yeah, right. I was at a thing in Montana, and she was just like, that's kind of amazing uh that she didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a real lack of information and a lack of education, even on the part of practitioners. So that was really interesting to me. But yeah, anyway, that's worked great. I would say, training wise, like, I think the menopause symptoms are pretty under control. I sleep well. I don't have these panicky hot flashes anymore. But I would say my strength has come down a little bit, and like the feeling I get when I go to the gym, where like I don't know if you feel this way ever, but like in my mid 40s and even late 40s, I feel like I could just start And now it's like I feel like I need to kind of stretch and kind of move my I always say move my old bones. Like it's not like I could just jump into it. I kind of have to get going. So my body is working a little bit differently. And like on a squat, for instance, I used to use like 45s on each side just as like the starting point. And now it's like 25s on each side is the starting point, and I build from there. So, yeah, like the thing they say about sarcopenia and how we lose a little bit, I totally believe that. Like I feel
Oh
that a
yeah.
little bit. It's not like a lot, but I feel
Yeah.
like there's a sizable difference for me from 50 to 48 in the way
Yep.
I feel. Maybe not in the way I look so much, but in the way I feel.
Well, it is interesting because that did catch my eye in the book because you talk about Mila. Is that how you say her name?
Mila, yeah,
Mila,
yeah, yeah,
who took up bodybuilding at age 53 and was very successful. But you talk about women bodybuilders and older ones having an advantage because bodies are a little harder, more defined, tougher, grainier
right.
muscles. And I was nodding along and then also thinking yes until because as for
Mm,
me myself 100% through my 40s until about like you 48, 49, I was very naturally muscular. I have pictures from that time when I was mountain bike racing where I had veins everywhere,
mhm,
striations, all of the things. And I
mhm.
don't know that I could ever get like at 56, I that seems like an impossibility. Like once I
Mm,
the point at which I crossed and I'm like I don't I mean maybe, but it would have to be so sacrificial I wouldn't want to do it. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? It would have to become a job where before it was just a byproduct of all the training I was doing.
I will say, like, diet has a lot to do with it, and, like, um, whether where you see all that stuff. I mean, it's I'm sure it's there, it's just you don't see it as if you're not, like, in this super, like, crazy diet,
But I did before. Do you see what I'm saying? Like
you did before. Yeah,
I was training, I was still racing. I was racing stage racing in
yeah,
Cuba all the way up to 48, 49. I mean, that
yeah,
nothing had changed
yeah.
except my hormones. Like nothing had changed.
Yeah, hormones, for sure. No, I believe you. I
Yeah.
look, like I have this like it's funny. I have like I take pictures of myself posing for my coach every week, and we were commenting on like how there's this little punch in my belly. And she's like, "That wasn't there before." I was like, "I know." Like it's just this little bloop in
It's your
my
body.
lower.
It is your body protecting you. I have to tell you, like your body is like going to hang on to some of that. And
Yeah,
when I talk to people, it is like as menopause obviously dovetails with getting older and like some of the fat migrates to the middle because it's making a weaker form of estrogen called estrone, right? And so you are making more hormones that way. And also there's a school of thought that we need a little more going
yeah,
into our old age because if you get sick or if something happens, it's good to have some reserves as opposed to not having reserves, which makes a
yeah.
lot of sense to me. And we're not going to look the
100%.
same at 80 as we do at 50 as we did at 30. I mean, those are just realities.
And I kind of like so I'm in a cut right now. I'm gonna be competing in, God willing, in mid-June in Massachusetts. So
Oh,
I
wow.
was thinking to myself, like, if if that's there, I am like totally okay with it because I'm my age. I
Yeah.
am my age, and like there's a certain beauty to that. And however I show up, I'll do my best, and
Yeah, I
but
appreciate
I
that.
look my age.
Wow, so you're in a cut right now. What does that look like?
So my coach has me do something called carb cycling
Hmm.
where there are so I maintain a diet of like 120 to 130 grams of protein every day.
Yep.
And then the carbs are, you know, I won't say generous on certain days, but they're like not super low. And then there's like two or 3 days in the week where they are like ridiculously low, and but the fat gets a little bit higher. So we track macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fat. And so on the low carb days, the fat ticks up a little bit more. And on the other days it's lower fat. So um and then like I'm training, there's more cardio these days. Most of the year I don't do any cardio and I just lift. But for
Is that
fat loss,
because your own choice?
yeah, and my coach, I work with my coach all year.
Okay.
So, the whole idea of this crazy sport is like you build and you make gains for most of the year, and then the period of weeks before a competition you cut. Um
And you're eating carbs during that point. I mean, you talk about that in the
oh
book.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um yeah, I enjoy my carbs. Yeah, typically like about half of what I consume is carbs.
Yeah.
About 30% I would say is protein, and then 20% is fat, which is, I think most American diets, it's 50% carbs with then 30% fat and 20% protein. So, particularly if you're lifting and you're, focused on building muscle, which I strongly believe all women should be, like you really want to up the protein. And
Yeah, we
protein
talk
is
about that all
yum.
the time.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, wait, the macros that I mean, not I don't count, but
Yeah.
when I talk to anybody and people are recommending that breakdown of that 30 half 20 is pretty close to what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
most of
mean,
the
ballpark. I mean,
people in
these
my
days I'm
audience are.
like weighing everything,
Oh, that
but
sounds
yeah, it's,
not fun.
but although I will say it's taught me to really understand like what a serving looks like. So I know it helps me track, like even when I'm not like in the off season, I'm not weighing all the time, but I do know what, 4 ounces of chicken looks like, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. And
Yeah.
I'm able to like, I call it loosely track. I can loosely track
Yeah.
um all my macros. And do you eat meat, or you
Yeah.
eat? Yeah, yeah.
Do you eat meat?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
really enjoy meat.
Yeah, I mean it's I I was a vegetarian for quite a few years
Oh,
and
were
it
you?
never suited me.
Yeah,
I tried to do it as well as I could with lentils and all the things, and I would just find myself literally on a bike ride dreaming about having a steak. Like it's all I could think about.
yeah,
And I just
yeah.
thought, I don't know. I grew up in a hunting family on venison, and I think I'm
Oh,
just
interesting. There's
nature
some things
nurture.
to
I don't
me.
know. I just feel so much better and more recovered on with meat.
Yeah, me too. There's something supremely satisfying about it. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, and I know people who do veganism super well. So I
Yeah,
am very agnostic. I'm just
yeah,
like whatever works for you. I am cognizant of the environment. I'm cognizant of factory farming. All of that is on my mind. My husband used to work at the Rodale Institute, which is all about regenerative organic agriculture. So it's not,
yeah,
I'm very holistic in my approach to food. Uh, and having tried so many different things, I have settled into what just works for me, which is very, very local, home, Whole Foods, all of the things. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Do you still bike? Do you still race?
Oh yeah, I raced 100 miles on Saturday.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And what kind of training does that? Do you hit the weight room
Oh yes.
during the week? What do
I
you?
used to not be when I was racing early on, I barely lifted. I would do
Mhm.
core training, mobility, just kind of stuff to just keep, because cycling is, you can get pretty imbalanced. When I was doing triathlon, I didn't feel imbalanced. I felt very, very balanced. But when I was just doing mountain bike racing, I felt the need to do some supplemental training to just keep myself feeling like a normal human being, just
Mhm.
pull-ups, push-ups, that kind of thing, core work. And then somewhere around 46, 47, definitely by 48, it became abundantly clear that was losing power if I wasn't doing some strength training. And I went to CrossFit because that was what was popular at the time, and I thought, "Oh, Like I had never lifted a barbell like that before.
Mm.
It just wasn't in
Mhm.
the ecosystem. Even though I
Oh,
was a trainer,
interesting.
like so many people for the group fitness classes or the training that we were doing, it wasn't barbell strength. Women just weren't wandering into the barbell room in the early aughts or the 90s. And I lifted a barbell and I was like, wow,
Mm.
that is a feeling I really like. Because it was
Hmm.
sort of that full central nervous system buzz that you get, and my brain felt different, and it really put power back into my mountain bike pedaling,
Mm,
and
mm,
because you
mm.
have to takes a lot of torque. Mountain bike,
Yeah, I can
and
imagine.
gravel too. Any off-road riding you do takes a lot of power in a different way. So I do lift year round now. At 56, I lift year round. I still periodize it some in the winter time because I'm on the East Coast in Pennsylvania where the winter is not awesome. So I will lift like 4 or 5 days a week and go out and run and ride as I can. And then as the weather changes, I sort of shift that balance. And then sometimes I just like going into this 100 miler, I just deloaded everything. I didn't lift anything. I just did some mobility just to give my body a chance to really be completely, present and ready and healed to do that. Because 8 hours is a long time to be out there on a,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, no, what you were saying about the feeling, how you fell in love with the feeling of lifting really resonated with me. I mean, I still to this day, like, it'll be a day where I like today where it's kind of gray and rainy and I really, really don't feel like going to the gym, but I know I will. And the second I start like lifting, I will feel so much better. And there's even like you just feel the endorphins kicking in and like,
yeah,
or it's like I'll look in the mirror at the beginning, I'll be like, oh, I look like shit. And then like just couple reps in, I'll be like, I look fucking amazing. Like there's just something that happens to, I mean,
yeah.
it's chemical.
It's definitely
Um,
chemical.
and you take it with you. It's like the best gift you can give yourself.
I think that segues nicely into sort of my last question for you is what would you want our audience to take away from what you have learned and what you want to convey in this book that you have aptly named Lift?
I would want women to know that the messages that they've received about thinness and skinny is not, it's not their calling. Like women are strong, badass athletes. You are an athlete. Your body brings life into the world. You multitask like nobody's business. Women live longer than men. We are strong. We withstand pain and discomfort longer than men. We were hunters. There's all kinds of evidence that the OG woman was this buff badass. And I want women to know that that is who they are and that it's not too late to go grab some of that and to take care of yourself, eat well, lift weights. Don't be afraid of lifting weights. It's not going to make you bulky. It's going to make you strong. It's going to make you live a longer and better life. And that is what I wish for.
That is what I wish for too. And I also wish because the bulky word is such an interesting one to me. And I don't mean to take this podcast into another place, but it's something that I've thought about for about 30 years now and I continue to. Because what a lot of women fear as bulk is what we would call buff. What we
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like it is reframing what the I want to say reframing the beauty standard, but it kind of is. I mean, they when you're conditioned that small, 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 and if you are a mesomorph like I am, I mean, you kind of do like I probably was bulky in some people's minds, and I would love to be bulky like that again. It's a lot of work, but
Right.
it's
Right.
um some women do put on muscle a little more easily, and I encourage them to embrace that because it is their metabolic 401k. We just need to keep changing the narrative. I worry about telling women that They won't get bulky when what they think is when their definition of bulky is not what we're thinking of. Does that make
No,
sense?
it totally makes sense. It's just a stupid word.
It
And
is
I
a
think
dumb
it's a
word.
it's a construct of I remember being I don't know if you remember, but I remember reading like teeny bot magazines and talking about like, you know, putting that idea in our heads. And I think it's just something that we've carried.
And
Look,
this
I
silly
was
idea of like long, lean muscles, as if like,
oh,
you know what
that
I mean? It's
still
so dumb. It's
exists.
so
So
dumb.
dumb. So dumb. Um, there's no such thing. There's no such thing.
It's so
Muscle is
dumb.
muscle. Um, I was talking to someone over the weekend about how have you noticed like she was saying, have you noticed like women age better with meat on their bones, right? Like if you like this obsession with thinness, it doesn't age well. And if you see like an older person, you hug that older person who's always one, like they just feel frail and you can feel it in their bones.
They are frail.
They are
They are
frail.
frail. Like that's a thing. Our muscle and bones are co-joined. They are very important. They're symbiotic.
And it's if worry about looks, it doesn't look good. Women look better with meat on their bones, especially as they age. So
And that meat is muscle.
that meat is
Technically,
muscle.
it actually
Exactly.
is.
It is. It is. So
So, yeah. So your competition's in Massachusetts? And is that what you said?
yeah, Lexington, Massachusetts. I compete with a federation called the Organization for Competition Bodies, OCB, which is a natural, quote unquote,
Mm.
natural drug tested federation. So it's really interesting actually. You go to these competitions and you take a what do you call it? A lie detector test. They make you take a
Oh,
lie detector.
polygraph? They make you test a polygraph?
They can take a polygraph, and then you do the pee in the cup. The winners do the pee in the
Yeah.
cup, urine tested. So it's really interesting. And so, it's not like, at the high state, like you go to like the Olympia and
Yeah.
Columbus or those that are like everybody's juicing, it's not like that. Bodies are much smaller. And it's nice. It's like, it's competition, but it's a little bit more friendly competition. And
Yeah.
I really enjoy competing in that federation.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
How
We'll
many
see
do
how
you do a
this
year?
This is well, I don't compete every year. It's more every other
Oh, okay.
year. You need to give your body a rest from it. And so last time I competed was I think 2023, 2022, 23, something like that. And so this will be like my first go at it as a pro. I've been competing as an amateur before. So at 50, I'm competing as a pro. So I'm
That's
excited.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm psyched.
Well, we will be cheering for you.
Oh, thanks. This was so fun, Celine. Thanks for doing
Thank
this
you.
with me.
Well, that is our show. Come on back next week for a fascinating conversation with neuroscientist Dr. Grace Blessed Hopley, the founder and CEO of Hystelica, and we talk all about psychedelics and menopause. I could have talked to her all day long. So come back for that one. And until then, as always, stay feisty. You've been listening to Hit Play, Not Pause, a feisty menopause podcast for active, performance-minded women. I'm your host, Celine Yeager. The show is edited and produced by the strong, talented, and amazing women at Live Feisty Media. Follow us on social media at Feisty Menopause, and please help us spread the word. Screenshot and share this episode on your social media channels with the tag @FeistyMenopause. Share the show with your friends, and please subscribe, like, review, and rate this show wherever you get your podcasts. Word of mouth and good reviews make it easier for other listeners to find. Thanks for listening, and as always, stay feisty.